Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys, I'm going to be profiling for you a deck that I've been thoroughly enjoying playing over the last couple of weeks, and it's been very nice to play the deck. And that is my vampire deck, using the new vampire support mixed in with the older vampires that we got a couple of years ago, like, oh my gosh, like 2014 I want to say that we got that stuff, or 2013. It's been a long time since we got vampire support, like good vampire support. But I've been playtesting this deck quite a lot. However, I will admit, from looking and testing and looking at other people's deck profiles and testing my own variation of it, I have seen so many variations of vampires. I've seen so many different ratios of the vampire cards of people running completely different ratios. I feel like as of right now, because the deck is still quite new and people are still kind of play testing the deck, trying to figure out what the best build is, that for the most part, it's not standardized yet. We don't have a standardized ratio of you run this, this, and this many of this. And I can see that when I'm looking at other deck profiles, which completely look different from each other. So this is what's been working for me. This is what I've been using, and I've been having a good time with it. It works, it's consistent at what it does, and I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it. So first up, we got two Vampire Scarlet Scourge. Now, you could run this as a 3-up in your deck if you wanted to, if you wanted to cut out one of the other vampire cards, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I really like him in the deck. I really like bringing him out with Vampire Shadow. That way I can, pay 1,000, reborn a card from grave, and then go for a Link Summon, an Exceed Summon, or whatever the case may be for that matter. But he's really essential to the deck, and I really like him. But 3-of seem to get a little cloggy for some reason. I like seeing him once I have a little bit of setup so I can pay that 1,000 to reborn a card. So it depends when you see him is how good he'll be. So I prefer him as a 2-of in the deck. A 3-of was getting a little bit too cloggy for me. But I may cut another card out in the future to make him a 3-of in the deck. But for right now, he's a 2-of in the deck. I love his artwork. It looks so badass. It's one of the reasons why I love the new vampires. Their artwork is so amazing. So good. Next we have 2 Vampire Furloin. This card, I have seen so many different ratios of. I've seen a lot of people run it as a 3-of. And then I've seen a lot of people run it as a 1-of. And then I've seen people run it as a 2-of. I feel like nobody understands the ratio of how many to run of this. So I went with 2-of. I went with the rule of 2. Which means if you think 3 is excessive and 1 is too little, you run 2 of it. And it's worked out fine as a 2-of. It's kind of like a hand trap-ish card that can help. You can pay life points up to 3,000 to gain attack. It's really, really a good card to have. And by far, she is my favorite artwork. And next to Scarlet Scourge. It's so detailed. It's so nice. And it looks nice as a secret rare. But will I bump her up to 3-of? Possibly. But more playtesting needs to be done. Right now, I am very comfortable and I like her as a 2-of in the deck, because sometimes if you have multiples of her in hand, it's okay, but it's not, you would rather it be something else, I guess you could say. So I prefer her as a 2-of. I can search her out very easily in the deck if I need her, or if I want to have her in hand. So I like her as a 2-of right now. You could run 3 though if you really felt like it. Next we run 1 Red Baron. This is a card that you could either run or not run. If you wanted to cut Red Baron out for like a third Furloin or Furline, or a 3rd Scarlet Scourge, go right ahead. Be my guest. I won't complain about it, because that's something I've been considering too. But I just like his applications in certain duels. He's been putting in so much work for me in certain duels, depending upon the setup and the way the game is progressing. It's been really helpful to have him as a 1-of in the deck. Would I continue to run him? For right now, yes. But like I said, I may cut him out for some other of the vampire stuff in the future. But test him out, play around with him. He's good as a 1-of in the deck. Next up, we run 3 Vampire Familiar. Now, this card searches out when it's special summoned. You pay 500 life points. You add you can add a vampire monster from your deck to your hand. So you have 1-for-1 in the deck, because this card is really essential to special summon it, so that's great. You can use it for Link fodder if you want to take this deck in that route by using Link Kaiba and other things of that nature. But I like it as a 1-of in the deck. as a 3 of on the deck because it's really nice. However, as I say that in the same sentence, I also run 3 Vampire Retainer. But we'll talk about it, which helps search out your vampire spells and traps, which is really nice. I kind of wish it was a level 1 and not a level 2. I really, really do wish it was a level 1. But, alas, it is not. However, and I have seen deck profiles doing this too. I've seen a lot of deck profiles out there run this as a 3 of. And then I've seen people out there run it as a 2 of. Just 2 of each, okay? And then I've seen people run 3 familiar because it's a 1-for-1 target and you can easily bring it out, and only 2 vampire retainer. There's so many different ratios I've seen of this going through deck profiles. I am just letting you know. For me, from playing the deck, I like it as a 3 of and a 3 of. It works well for me. And I have no complaints about it. Could I cut down the ratio in the future? Plausibly. Maybe I'll cut down Vampire Retainer to 2 of and run 3 Vampire Familiar as a 3 of still. But more playtesting needs to be done. But from playtesting the deck a lot and playing the deck in tournaments and whatnot recently, it works fine as a 3 of and a 3 of. I have no complaints. So, that's just me. Next up, we have some of the older vampire stuff. We have 2 Vampire Shadow. Now, I've seen people not run this card. I've seen people run it as a 1 of, and I've seen people run it as a 3 of. Again, I went with the rule of 2. I felt 3 was a little bit too excessive. I thought 1 was too little, so I ran it as a 2 of. It's searchable. I can get it very easily. I can tribute it off. Then, you know, special summon like Vampire Scourge from my deck. Pay 1,000, bring something else back, and set up a nice little board right there. So, I like him as a 2 of in the deck. 3 was too much, I felt like, and 1 was too little, but you could get away with running 1. I'm going to say that right now. You could run just 1 of this card, but I prefer 2. It's worked out very well. You can use him for Exceed summons of just dark Exceed monsters, I believe it is. But he's really just essential to helping you create your boards, I find. So, 2 Vampire Shadow. We run 1 Vampire Sorcerer. Again, I've seen people not run this card. I've seen people run 3 of it. I've seen people run 2 of it. I've seen people run 1 of it. I prefer 1. It's worked for me. It takes a little bit of setup. You have to have it engraved to really get the use of it. So, I like it as a 1 of in the deck, because it takes some setup. We also run Vampire Grace and Vampire Duke as a 1 of. Vampire Grace, I've kind of thought about, you know, chopping her, putting her on the chopping block and cutting her out. But from playing the deck a lot, I kind of like her sometimes, and then other times I'm like, I don't like you. But I do like the 1 Vampire Grace, and I do like the 1 Vampire Duke. I've seen people run double Duke, and that's fine. But I prefer 1 and 1 of. So 1 Duke, 1 Grace. Then let's go on to the normal standard zombie engine. So we run 3 Sharanui Solitaire. Again, I've seen people run just 2 of this and 3 Unizombie. I feel like that Sharanui Solitaire, you run 3 of this and 2 Unizombie instead, that ratio, because instead of running just 2 of this and 3 Unizombie, is because the fact of the matter is this can tutor out anything you really need from the deck. That makes it just a little bit more better. Just a little bit. So I like 3 Sharanui Solitaire in the deck. To go along with that, you run your double Unizombie in the deck, which can help you go for Omega, which you run as a 1 of in the deck, or you could run as a 2 of if you prefer doing that. And it helps get dead things out of your hand to set them up engraved, to reborn them and do stuff of that nature. So 2 Unizombie, 3 Sharanui Solitaire. That's what's been working for me. Next up, we run Devil Mizuki and his brother. I've been trying out in the deck, Gozuki. I was trying out other different engines you could play in the deck, you know, like, there was so many different things I was trying out recently, trying to figure out what was the best way of, what engine was the best to run in the deck. Should I run other cards? Should I run Gozuki? Should I run Mizuki's as a 3 of? You know, different ways. And from playtesting, I prefer running 2 Gozuki and 2 Mizuki, and it's worked out fairly well. You can play the deck a little bit differently if you want to, and go right ahead. That's your prerogative. But this is what's been working for me, and it's been doing pretty good. Especially the 2 Gozuki. Then we run our hand traps. 2 Ghost Ogre and 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, which is a zombie, which sometimes comes into play. But yeah, 2 Ghost Ash and 2 Ogre. You could run Drill and Lock. You could run Haunted Bell, Haunted Mansion, Ghost Girl, and Haunted Mansion, which you could easily run the deck, and that's a zombie too, so that has some synergy with the deck. But this is what I prefer: 2 Ghost Ogre, 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. Next up, we run 3, which it's got to be a 3 of in the deck, Vampire Domain, because this helps you do your tributes a lot better, and it's very essential to the deck and helps gain you back life points. So 3 Vampire's Domain is really essential into the deck, I feel like. Next, I run 2 Vampire Desires. This is kind of like an awkward, foolish burial card. It has a lot of applications. I've seen people run this as a 3 of and a 1 of even, but I like it as a 2 of. I like seeing it, I like it in the deck, but I don't want to have more than, 2 of it. Like 3 seems so excessive to me. But I like it as a 2 of, and I love the artwork. Next up, we run 1 Book of Life, 1 1-for-1, 1 Foolish Burial, and 1 Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn, self-explanatory, 1-for-1 for your familiar card. Book of Life, just good card to have. And 1 Foolish Burial to send things to grave to set up. And then lastly, I run 2 Vampire's Domain, which is kind of like your Infernity Barrier or your Counter Trap spell. Really, really good card. You could run it as a 3 of in the deck if you wanted to, but I prefer 2 of. And it's the only trap I run in the deck, really. But it's really good, a good trap to have. Love the artwork again. Like I said, I love the artwork of the new cards a lot. So let's go on to the extra deck now and talk about that. So we got our Field Centers, Dark Magician, and Blue Angel, as I always use. So first up, we got our 2 Vampire Sucker. Alright. 2 Vampire Sucker, which is really good and does work with the deck, and I do enjoy it. We have your a small Nightmare Engine, which is 2 Unicorn and 1 Cerberus, pretty much. And then we run the 1 Unicorn, so Phoenix, Cerberus, Unicorn. Then your other ones, you got Firewall Dragon, Borlo Dragon, and Sauja over here. You guys should know what these do. Then we run Beatrice, and we run Pilgrim, Dante, Pilgrim of the Burning Abyss. Now, as you saw in my deck profile, I'm not running Farfa. You could run Farfa in the deck if you wanted to. It's a really good card, but I decided to cut it out of the deck. You could run it, though, if you wanted to, running 1 Farfa in the deck to use off Beatrice and whatnot. So that's up to you to decide if you want to do that. But this is the ratio I'm running. Then for my other level 6s, 1 Drampier. You could run him as a 2 of. I prefer 1 of. Your 1 Crimson Knight Vampire Bram. Good card. Your 1 number 42 Dragulus the Vampire, because he is a vampire and he is a pretty good card. And also 1 Photon Strike Bouncer, because he's a good level 6 to have as well. We also run 1 Omega, but you could run, if you wanted to, guys, double Omega if you wanted to, but I'm just running 1 of in the deck. So that is the deck profile in a nutshell. Pretty straightforward there, I guess you could say. The deck overall, I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it a lot lately. It's been pretty good to play, actually. It's been doing pretty good. Like I said, I'm making, trying some things out. Like I tried Farfa out earlier, had some success with it, decided to cut it out at the end of the day. I've been still playing around with the ratios of it. Like I said, maybe running double Omega instead of 1 Omega, things of that nature. One thing I want to show you guys, because we're speaking about vampires right now, and this is something I found when I was in the process of putting this deck together, when I was going through my binder. I found this old Korean card. Have a vampire on it. Look at that. I wish that I forget what the name of this card is actually for us over here in the TCG. I know it came out. I remember seeing it back in like the I want to see 5D's era. It came out as a rare, but this is a Korean version of it that's hollow. Just thought it had some cool artwork I wanted to show you guys. That's all it is. Don't worry about it. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. And I hope you got this, enjoyed playing this deck. Like I said, still working out some things here and there, but overall the deck is fairly good, fairly consistent, does pretty well. And once you get the hang of it, it can swarm the field fairly easily. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and I'll see all of you guys next time. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up. Take care, everybody.